guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's doing well. Cool little video here today. What I think may be the best dual sport on the planet still to this day, even over any brand new one you can get. This is a 98 DR350. Our awesome buddy Brandon brought it in for us to do some work on. I've basically already fixed the main concern because it was super intermittent, basically stalling on the trail or sometimes not starting when cold. And I'm pretty sure he had two issues. A little bit of trash in the tank, not much, just enough to clog the left side petcock. This Acerbis tank has two petcocks, one on this side and one on the other. That left side petcock was clogged a little on, not on reserve. So there's a straw that sticks up in here. It just has one about this high for on, and then that gives you this much for reserve, and it shares the same straw. And I'm pretty sure that the on position on that side was stopped up. So got that taken care of. And also on these old DRs, the ignition switch here, if you turn it a little bit past on, that's just lights and it kills the ignition. And this one was really touchy, so I cleaned all the contacts. We may end up having to put a switch on it, but it's doing great right now. We're going to test it out really good. So all that's really left today is we're going to lower it 1 3/4 inches. Awesome guys at Pro Cycle sent us this Cuba link for 1 3/4 inch lowering, and we got this high flow. We're going to change the oil in it. Now there's a little bit of procedure to change the oil. The DR's got a dry sump system just like an old XR does. Their oil actually goes in the frames. It holds 1,700 milliliters, drains down into the crankcase and feeds the pump. So what we'll have to do, we have to warm it up, drain it here. This little 12 millimeter will drain the reservoir, which doubles as a frame. And then there's a 17 under here. We'll take that loose, so we'll basically drain frame and crankcase. Add about a little over 1.5 quarts here. We have to crank it up, let it get good warm for a little bit, and then we'll check the level. There's a dipstick on this, and you just push it down in there and check the level. So we'll do that today. And yeah, it's a good little winter project. I've had it a little bit too long. I've been busy. Sorry, Brandon. But Brandon's the guy that has the XT225. I'll put the video up above here where we rebuilt his engine, and he comes to us from way off, and he's actually got two of these DRs for spare. So when when the XT's down or, you know, getting worked on or anything, he's got these to ride. But anyway, we'll get this one serviced and finished. He's going to bring us the other one, and I believe the other one is sort of a work in progress. I believe these bikes came as a pair. He was asking me, he's like, man, I need an extra bike. What should I get? I was like, get a DR350, man. They're solid, they're light. You know, you can depend on it. You won't have to work on it too much. Now, these old bikes will use a little bit of oil. And what I've found over the years, guys, on working on these bikes for, you know, 25, 30 years. Shell Rotella, this T4 is a diesel oil, but it comes in 1030. It's good for wet clutches, and it will cut the oil consumption nearly in half on everything I've put it in. I don't know why that is. It's good oil. It's cheap oil. But I'll drop a link below for everything that I'm using here today. This Rotella stuff, man, it's hard to find it in 1030. O'Reilly's keeps it in their commercial section, or you can get it on Amazon. I think we 50-50 get it either way. If you don't run this, I recommend running GN4 Honda. If you're like, well, it doesn't say MA2 on it, I need warranty, just get the GN4 from Honda. It's conventional oil, and you don't have to worry about anything. A lot of these older bikes, now people will argue this to the death, but you put full synthetic oil in these bikes, it'll start drinking it and using it and leaking. And I don't know why, but it does. It's just, you know, they say, well, that's anecdotal evidence. Well, that's all you got when you're a mechanic. But anyway, let's get right into it, guys. We'll lower this bike down again, like I said, 1 3/4 inches, and change this oil, and then we'll give it a real good test ride and make sure everything's going to be okay with it, and Brandon can come get it, and we'll get on to the next project. All right, guys. This line here also resists heat pretty good too, so I get to get it pretty warm, and it'll fit a lot better, and then it'll really be seated there. Oh yeah, so when that cools off, it'll shrink right down. You really don't even need anything else to hold it too much. Let's put this about right here. This line actually comes with the Acerbis tanks. Had it left over from one I did before at some point. It's got a super good running bike here now. Let's fire it up and let it warm up good before we change this oil. Battery's just a little bit weak. I'm gonna charge it up. It's been sitting a little bit, so. But man, she really purrs good. We want to get this thing to where this crankcase is somewhat warm. And then we'll get the oil drained out. I envy Brandon real bad because the older I get, that item right there is the only thing this bike has to crank it. And I'm gonna have to put electric start, man. Hitting that button sure is nicer than pushing down on that lever when you wore out tired and old like me. All right, we're gonna let this run a little bit here and then we'll get this drained out. All right, guys, we got it good and warm here. Even the frame rail's pretty warm, so what I like to do is go ahead and loosen this. That's where you feel it, and just kind of leave it sitting in there loose, and that'll let this drain a little better. Basically take you a 12. Now there's gonna be a washer on this, so take you 12 here, and whoops. I'll loosen this out and let this drain out good. Oh no, whoa Nelly. Make a little mess. That's good and hot oil. That oil seems to be a little thin to me. So the actual frame doesn't really hold an absolute ton of oil. A lot of it stays in the crankcase, but I like to get all that out. This oil doesn't look really too bad, but it's thin. I don't know what weight that is. And I guess it's a possibility it could have a little bit of water. I mean, fuel watering it down, possibly. So we'll let that drip out. We'll get down here and loosen this 17. Well, that's nice. It didn't have that super tight. Sometimes people think it's necessary to over tighten the heck out of drain plugs. Oh yeah, doesn't look too bad. Now I know chances are if you guys own a DR350, you know how to change the oil in it after if you've bought it years ago when they were popular. But they're starting to make a resurgence. To me, it's not to offend anyone, but it's about 3 times the bike that the DR350s is. And I'm not saying the DR350 is a bad bike. Let's get this oil filter housing loose here while that drains. But the DRZ is a little top heavy. To me, super tall, you know, which if you're 6.5 foot tall, that's okay. But to me, this is air cooled. The DRZ is liquid cooled. The DRZ is way heavier. Now, I am a fan of the twin cam, you know, engine, 400 engine. I really do like it, but I don't like it enough to like it better than this bike. That's just facts, you know. But nothing wrong with it. I've noticed that a lot of people are picking this bike over the DRZ now, and I think it's just because this is just a better overall riding bike to me. All right, let's get this filter out of here. This actually doesn't look bad at all. That hasn't been long since that's been changed, I don't think. No metal in there. That looks good. Yeah, and if you ride a DRZ400, I'm definitely not taking that away. I'm just saying, to me, this is just the cream of the crop good bike. Simple, lightweight. I think this bike is like 270 pounds or something maybe. So it's tough to beat. No, check this out. That's got a spare clutch cable in there in case it breaks. Now that's pretty nice. Good idea. He's got 2 clutch cables. I thought, well, this must be a compression release for a different year bike or something. But he's got 2 clutch cables in there. That's pretty cool. I never even thought of that. I always do carry one in the pack, but not already on the bike ready to switch out. That's pretty cool. All right, so this only go one way. You got a hole there that retains up in there. Pretty simple design. Got an O-ring here that you can reuse, but if it gets flat, you'll want to change it. And then this spring holds against that. That's really all there is to that. Hard to beat that design. And you just want to put Suzuki back where you can read it. Also, if you end up with a DRZ, or a DR350 rather, any year, 91 until 99, I believe, you can change the cylinder head, the engine cylinder, and the head as well is the same thing. But you can change the cylinder from get it from an Eiger 400cc ATV, I believe, any year. The cylinder's exactly the same, and it's just 50 cc's bigger. And so you can swap that. You can use the piston as well, but most people go the ATV's a little bit less compression, so most people go with Wiseco 10-to-1 or something with 400 cc's, and you're getting close to 40 horsepower then, which is pretty darn good for a bike that weighs less than 300 pounds. All right, so we just want to snug these up. It's going into aluminum. Don't get them crazy tight, just snug. All right, that's all there is to it. We'll get this drain plug back in there and get it filled up with some good clean oil. And I also didn't mention this, but I put the kickstand, I put a little 2x4 under the kickstand to get the bike a little bit more level. And if you're really into getting every ounce out of it, you can rock it around, but as long as you keep it good in service, that's no big deal. All right, just snug your drain plug up, make sure the washer looked good. It was fine on this one. Going into aluminum, so you don't have to get crazy tight. Spray off the engine case and get this drain pan. You'll get a little bit in this pan from your filter if you have a bash plate. I just rinse it off. That's all there is to it. And now we'll get some oil added in there, guys, and that part will be done. 950. So let's fill this up. This is just a clean mixing bottle for marine engines. Let's fill that up. That'll be a little over half of what we need. And we'll add that and a little bit more, and then we'll fire it up. All right, clean oil going in. Good clean funnel. You don't want any car oil in this funnel either. You want to pour this slow so that can run down into the crankcase and not get overfilled. I think I like to put about 1,200 or so, and then we can put the rest in after we crank it. And the downfall of these bikes, guys, if they get to using oil, people let them run low on oil. And what that does, it ends up starving the camshaft and rockers for engine oil, and it wipes the heads out. That's pretty much all that ever goes wrong with these bikes on the engine part of them. They've got one little bolt that comes loose from the transmission that you can fix really easy. All right, let's start this up and let it circulate. You'll hear the chain kind of bang around a little bit until it gets plenty of oil to it. And then what we're gonna do after this runs a little while, we'll cut it off, let it set for maybe 30 seconds or so, and then we're gonna check this dipstick by not threading it in, but just inserting it and wiping it clean and checking it a couple times like you would anything else. And like I said, when I change the oil in these old 350s, I end up with really close to 2 quarts in them, maybe just shy of it. All right, let's lean her back over. Okay, so we're still just barely up on the dipstick. I think we can go ahead and add the rest of that. And I could be off just a little because I'm not really sure. I didn't fill this thing up to the rim. I'm pretty sure this thing holds 950 milliliters. Pretty sure. Just about dead on. Might need just a touch more, but that's real close. Let's put just a tiny little swig in there and we'll have it. I'd rather it be just a touch over than under, especially if he's gonna ride a bunch of highway miles. Then he's gonna end up having to add some if we don't have it topped up. All right, I'm pretty happy with that, guys. That's dead up to where it should be. It's maybe still a tiny shy, but let's ride it. We don't worry about that. I can top it off later. I think that's pretty darn close. All right, let's get to lowering this little thing. All right, guys, I know you guys have seen me use this old jack table 1,000 times. I'm not huge on the Harbor Freight Chinese Communist Party stuff, but I will say that this old jack table's been really good. It was very inexpensive, and I've had engines and transmissions out of cars on it. But anyway, you'll want some way to just support this bike in the air, and kind of, you're just really wanting this back tire sort of just mildly supported, barely all touching the ground. We're gonna take these two bolts out here, 19 and 17, 22 millimeter to hold this side and a 19 to hold the other side there. We're just gonna bring these out. The bolts will come out from the other side. Then we'll let the bike down a little bit and line this basically, we're gonna take this factory links off and replace it with a little bit longer links here. And we got some spacers we got to put in there too as well, I believe. So, all right, let's get right into it, guys. Got my little 3/8 impact here, Milwaukee. This shouldn't be ridiculous tight. Yeah, okay. And let's just lay this stuff out just like it comes off. No problem. Okay, so this particular bolt is going to slide out from this side. Just be careful if you got any spacers or anything in there. Keep them in place. This one's going to come out from this side, and this one's going to come out from the other side. So I don't think we're going to lose any spacer. Let's see here. Going to slide this one out. There's this side's link. Right out there, looks like a old school ratchet wrench, doesn't it? And of course the chain's in the way. Okay, so if you got enough slack in the chain, you can pick that right up. All right, so there is a spacer on this side. Yeah, no spacer at the bottom, but there's a bearing cap down there. We just have to watch for that. So they make this, I believe, in 1.5, 1.75, and 2.0. And the 2.0 is always out of stock. But from what I've found, if you run the 2.0 and you jump a big jump with a factory size tire, or even one size bigger, then you end up bottoming out. All right, guys, these are marked right and left. So I don't believe they have a top and bottom, but there is a right and a left for some reason. Maybe it's just so you can read it. I'm not sure. But we'll put them on like this and go from there. And these are going to go just like this at the top on both sides. No biggie. You can see this customer has definitely kept this nice and greased, which is really great. Get all this grit off that we can. Let's wipe this nice and clean. Let's just put a little bit on this. Doesn't need a lot. Just a good little coat. Okay. All right, guys, so we're going to put our link in. Let's line that spacer up. Don't forget this one. This one goes actually first. We'll get all that lined up. Remember, we go under the chain, get this started. Should be a piece of cake. Okay, that slid right in. Now, let's go over on the other side. We'll worry about the bottom later. Just nice to get all that old time grease out of there and if it's collecting any dirt or not. Okay, I don't think this has a front and a back, so you're gonna want to put it first. Then the spacer. Then your link. As you see, we got the right side. Let's drop her down through here. Line this up, push it around. And this is the side with this nut, which is the 19, goes to the top. Let's leave it loose to begin with, okay? All right. Now, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna let the bike down until this lines up right here. Okay, you ready? Go gentle. Man, that's pretty close. Let's see if our bolt will go in. Oh yeah, we might can just barely drop it a little bit. Right there, check that out, how easy that is. Okay, then you're just gonna reach on the other side here and grab this one and line it up if you can. Kind of with feel, you may have to go over there and look at it. Let's see. I think we're super close though. Look at there, perfect, nothing to it. So using this jack, this release, or if you got help, you could get somebody to raise and lower this for you, but that's not bad at all. All right, let's start our nut on this side. $17 on this side. Snug it up. Now you don't want to get just ridiculous crazy tight with this because you want that to be pivotable. So remember, the bottom is greased from right here. Maybe just 5 or 6 squirts in there. Plenty. It's always a good practice to wipe the zert fitting off, guys. You don't really want to introduce dirt that's on that zert fitting into this bushing. All right, that's full. Good enough. Look at there. And I'm pretty sure you guys already know the dirt cheapest gear oil you can buy, 80, 90, or somewhere close to that, is about the best chain lube you can get. It'll stay on better, and there's no need to spend a bunch of money on fancy chain lubes. That's the best lube you can buy right there. And you really want to put it on the inside of the chain if you can, and give it a spin, and just keep spinning until it frees up a little, and that's all you need. You don't want too much to make a big mess. I put a little bit on the outside there just to do it, but this chain's in really good shape. Nice X-ring chain, it looks like. Appreciate you, Brandon. Appreciate all you do for us here at the channel. It's a pleasure to work on these bikes, and we look forward to working on the next one, man. Guys, I got just a little bit of battery left. Let's take this thing for a ride. It is an absolute ripper, man. It is super strong running. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this machine now, man. Wow, does it really go. It just handles good. I think it's got aftermarket suspension, I believe. She's a burner, buddy. This windshield I need to tighten up, I see. Man, it rips. Good wheelie machine. Just a good running bike. And I appreciate you guys following along on the channel. Stay tuned for more, guys. Take care.